then they have to pass a budget.
Then vote them out in November. That's the way our system works. Yes, sir.
Let me comment on a couple of things. One is the federal budget, the federal deficit is going to approach $16 billion. It took us 206 years to get our first $1 trillion of debt in the United States. It happened in 1982. We went from 1776 to 1982 to reach $1 trillion. We're now doing that. We're adding $1 trillion to our debt every 10 months. Every 10 months. Since 1990 to 2010, our population has grown by 25%. Our revenue, federal revenue, has grown by 24%. Our federal spending has grown by 76%. Okay? We're clearly outspending anything we could conceivably expect to take in revenue. At some point, there's a tipping point. We are now borrowing 40 cents, 42 cents out of every dollar we're spending.
And we all agree.
Okay. If you want the ultimate stimulus program, eliminate taxes on everybody and borrow 100%. Okay? It sounds ridiculous. But at what point do you back down from spending, only printing the money, spending borrowing close to 100% of your budget, back down to where we are borrowing 42% of your budget? Is it 50% of your budget is a tipping point before people no longer buy our bonds? Is it 60%? Is it 70%? Someplace in the process between 42 and 100 is a tipping point. Greece found it. Spain is discovering it. Italy is probably close to finding it. We're the biggest, so people run to us for cover. But there will be a day.
There's a day of reckoning coming.
There will be a day when we'll wake up and nobody will buy our bonds anymore. Or the cost of those bonds will not be 2% or 1%. They'll be 7%, 8%, 9%. They'll grow. So at some point, somebody's got to say, it's enough now. We cannot penetrate any more than 42% borrowings. Where's the number? You guys have discussions?
Oh, absolutely.
And where's the tipping point? I'm trying to calculate it.
It frightens us. It frightens us
Sure.
where that tipping point may be. That's why we have put forward budgets that actually do what you're suggesting needs to be done.
Here.
To balance the budget, to stop the spending, to begin to reform our tax structure, our regulatory structure, and our structures for Medicare and Social Security so that we save and preserve those programs for today and tomorrow.
I'll make one other point. $1 trillion is so much that it's hard to fathom. It's got 12 zeros. 12 zeros, okay? Even millionaires and billionaires can't comprehend $1 trillion.
Yeah.
All right?
It's a big number.
I'll give you two examples to try to get what $1 trillion is. If you had a stack of $1,000 bills and you packed them on top of each other, it would be 68 miles tall. That's $1 trillion. If you spent $1 million every day since Jesus was born, you would have spent 3/4 of $1 trillion to today. 3/4. You wouldn't even hit $1 trillion.
It's
if
a big
you spent
number.
$1 million a day.
It's a big number.
That number usually registers with people how much money we're talking about. It's a giant, giant number, and we're not getting any better. It's getting worse. And it's not a revenue thing, because where revenue is growing about as fast as population is. We're spending way, way, way beyond our means.
All the more reason why we must get our private sector back engaged, why private sector growth, not government growth, is the idea to getting our economy fixed. Folks, I wish we could stay here all night, but we can't. We only have the room reserved until 7:30. Well, we're about out of time, but I'll take yours.
2 comments. Why is there any travel at all for anybody going to Las Vegas, Hawaii, or wherever, on taxpayers' dollars while we're in this fiscal crisis? And what about the $4 billion a year that the federal government is refunding to illegal aliens who are claiming children who are not even in this country? And there's $4 billion a year.
Yeah,
that's what upsets the citizens, is that there's all this fraud and waste, and the government, nobody should be going any place on the federal dollar, on the taxpayer dollar, to Hawaii, I don't care where. They shouldn't even be going out to lunch right now. That's what has us upset.
You have every right to be upset when you see that.
Because you're saying you can't cut the spending because we've already have committed to this, okay, so we committed to that, but we can cut everything from this point forward. No travel, no vacations, and certainly the IRS is aware of this fraud going on, the $4 billion, and they're not talking to anybody, and they're just letting it.
There is talk in Washington about the fraud. Part of our budget,
Oh, yeah,
part of our,
$4 billion, a billion here, a billion there.
I tell you what, write Senator Sherrod Brown and Senator Portman and tell them to go to Harry Reid and tell him to address some of the legislation that we have put forward to address those issues.
Is there anything going on right now that we can specifically quote or say about this $4 billion?
I tell you what, Jackie, make sure she's got your information. Give Jackie a call next week because we do have some fraud, waste, and abuse
I'm
legislation.
specifically talking about that because I think $4 billion on something they're a refund for something they're not even paying in the first place. I don't like when they call this a refund to people who don't pay taxes in the first place.
Look, we will do this again. I have telephone town halls. I don't know how many of you get the phone calls, but
I do, and then they hang up on me. 3 different times.
not mine though.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. In fact, I called the telephone company that does your survey. We're sorry, we cannot leave a message at this time because our mailbox is full.
When was the last one you got?
I feel home and look on the caller just this week.
Just this past week. And did you get a voice message that said
I
that?
picked, as soon as I heard your voice, I picked it up. I said, hello, hello. And it started out with Mrs. Congressman Bill Johnson, and then Mrs. Congressman Bill
Is that
Johnson,
right?
Mrs. Congressman, and I'm going. And then it says, we're sorry that you're able to participate at this time, and hung up, and I'm going, hello, hello, hello.
Thank you for telling me about that. You're the first person that has
Oh,
told me
no, because
that.
I called your office and told you. Oh, the other thing is, federal prisoners in prison are collecting. One man received $327,000 refund check to a New York prison. The warden caught the check before it went into his bank account. People who are on unemployment call up and say, one prisoner called up and said, I didn't get an unemployment check. Well, if you're in prison, you don't get it. I'm serious.
Bill,
If this is
another thing that wasn't brought up over the funding and stuff that's been held off for quite a while, which isn't going to be held off much longer, is a little word called inflation. Inflation may be the thing that settles half the debt, but when there's inflation that heavy and is inflicted on you, you're not going to have any retirement or anything. It's going to wipe out all your accounts.
Folks, we really have to clear the room. Yes. Quickly.
That's going to be really quick. Actually, first of all, thanks for having the town hall. I appreciate it, seeing you talk face to face. I don't see a big problem with laws passing, even if the Senate's holding them up. We have 4 years. We had this financial crisis. How many people were indicted, went to jail? I see enforcement of the law as the biggest issue.
You're right.
Immigration
laws.
My point is, would you be willing to call for resignation of the SEC chair or whoever's responsible for looking into that? Because if they're in bed with each other, then they're supposed to be the oversight hawk and supposed to prosecute it. And if they're not doing their job,
I think any elected official or bureaucrat that is there to watch over the interest of the American people, if they're not doing their job, they should be called on to resign and step down. Absolutely. All right. Yes, Carl.
I just want to thank you for having this event, and I want to thank you for everything that you have done for us. You've done a tremendous job, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Amen.
I wish we could answer all the questions. That's all right. Thank you for no apologies needed. These are tough issues, and the solutions are tough. And it's going to take thinking like others and staying engaged. That's part of the process. Jeff, thank you for being here. Thanks a lot, Terry.
so I do appreciate it.
That's not the way I got to find out what this lady was talking about here with the telephone that got fell off. We're going to look into that.
Well, I've had 2 letters
She was too stupid to get financial aid. They don't want to do anything. The 6 years, she's got to
Okay, let me get
Good job.